Hello High Fidelians, my name is Menthal and today I'm going to demonstrate a new material shader group in the Hifi-Blender plugin in Blender 2.8. Let's get started. Just a recap on installation. You go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons and install the Hifi_tools zip file provided in the GitHub repository releases. After installation, enable the plugin. You may notice a new feature called Correct Color Space on Save. Leave this on for now. It will make your life much easier when you're working with the new node-based system introduced in Cycles. I will explain this later. Create your object or scene and make sure to save the blend file in the same directory as where your textures are. It may otherwise cause you issues as you will be embedding the textures to the FBX. Now, to bind the textures to the object, we will create a new material. By default, Blender 2.8 in Eevee and in Cycles will present to you the principal shader. We will change the shader and use a new shader group instead, called HF shader. This will present you with a simplified interface for a group of shaders that form something similar to what you would see in Hi-Fi. You can preview this material by enabling shaded mode in the 3D viewport. Here are a few points. Unlike in Blender 2.7, metallic values now accept full grayscale values. We now have roughness values instead of glossiness. Where the darker the texture is, the more shinier it is. We will now bind the texture files to their relative ports. Unfortunately, procedural shaders are not supported, so make sure your textures are either in JPEG or PNG. No other file formats are supported. To make this quick, we are going to use the shader editor. You can drag a new viewport in Blender by dragging the corners of the regions, but to simplify, we will simply go up here and swap the window into shading. Then we can simply drag and drop each texture file from their directory To bind them, we are going to connect each texture's sockets to the other sockets. By default in High Fidelity, if you're gonna have a diffuse texture, the alpha channel will now always be used as a transparency on the model. You will also need a normal map node in front of the normal socket. Once this is done, save and you will notice that the non-diffuse or emission textures have now swapped their color space to non-color. This is what the Correct Color Space on Save checkbox does. However, if you want to turn this off, you can still manually do it by pressing the correct non-diffuse button in the Hi-Fi tool shelf. You can now preview the results in the 3D view window. By default, the shaded mode has a default skybox, but if you have a skybox you use in High Fidelity, you can also load it here by going to the World tab and setting an environment map. For best results, use the same skybox image you use in World. As of this video, HDR images are unfortunately not quite supported in Hi-Fi yet, so more accurate results come from using the flat environment image. You will see this once you swap your rendering mode to rendered. Once you're happy with the results in Eevee preview and how the textures are, we can then export. Go to File, Export, Hi-Fi FBX. Then make sure you have all the files in the same directory as the blend file. Check also that the embed FBX is set to copy. After this, export and upload to a server. In the world, if you have a similar skybox setup, we can now plop down our model. As you may notice, if you do a side-by-side comparison between High Fidelity and Blender, the textures look quite similar. I hope you enjoy these new tools.